I'm really excited for this conversation because as a former barista, it's just coffee is like near and dear to my heart, and it's fun to be able to mesh my two worlds together of WBUR and coffee. But let's just get right into it because I know everybody in the audience is probably going to have a lot of questions for you too. So first up, what drew you all to coffee? Jamie, do you want to get started?
Gosh, I think, oh man, that's like a long time ago story. No, my wife came here for Cambridge Culinary, and I kind of had to figure out what I was going to do. And I was somewhat of an intense person, so I was working at a bubble tea place, and I was working at a coffee shop, and this was back when everything was kind of dark roast, and there really wasn't a scene. And yeah, I got inspired, and I had a group of customers on that little Porter Square area that were just really dedicated coming in. They liked the way I pulled espressos. They liked how intense I was and how focused I was. And I kind of thought, there's something I can do with this. And I started blogging, started meeting with a group of friends, and 6, 7 of us sit around, taste coffees from different roasters and pull shots, and then maybe switch to a little alcohol. And yeah, it was a team effort, but then I think at a certain point it was like there's something there for me that feels authentic. It feels right with the kind of hyper fixation that I get on things, and found my people. Yeah.
Pac, do you want to go next?
Oh, wow, me next. Okay, so my is a little bit dramatic. So coffee saved my life once, and I want to have this opportunity to make a meaningful impact for others, as I have been worse and I have seen worse, and because of coffee, it's pulled me off from the cave, and that's allowing me to be who I am today, representing Thailand as that first cup of coffee that I have, and to back then from now, picking coffee cherry, processing, roasting, and brewing is all started at the farm. So that's who I was and who I am today, and that's why I started in coffee.
Amazing. Yoon, do you want to go next?
I'm actually in coffee because of 2 really important men in my life. And it goes way back to actually my dad. In the 90s, Vietnam after the war was closed. In 1990 was when we reopened for trade. And one of the first jobs my dad got after I was born was to drive from our hometown in southern Vietnam up through to whatever forest non-highway there was to go buy coffee for his boss. And I forgot about that, grew up in coffee shops, but then my husband moved to the States after we hooked up on a summer fling 16 years ago. And he was working in urban design and dearly missed home. So one day he said, hey, listen, like, if I don't make it feel more like home in Cambridge, I might move back home. So I'd say, okay, go do whatever you want, because I don't think I can survive living in Vietnam now as an immigrant for so many years. So Cicada Coffee Bar was born in the middle of the pandemic, honestly, because if he didn't open it and serve coffee and share Vietnamese coffee culture, which is just getting together, he probably would go crazy. And would be a very different, sad story right now. So because of those 2 men, I am now in coffee.
What about you, Evan?
Yeah, I think definitely circuitous. I was, like, my first coffee job was at a Starbucks. It was like a kiosk inside of a grocery store, actually, in 2011. So I had just graduated from college with an art degree. And, there's some career trajectories there, but I didn't want to, like, paint for the rest of my life. It just seemed too stressful. Yeah. But no, so really though, the moment that like made a difference for me was like my mom's side of the family are all farmers in Northern California. So she grew up in a farming community, and I was aware working at Starbucks, I go, this is like a farmed agricultural product. It just doesn't grow here. So I was very interested in like what farming life was like in coffee growing countries. And that idea of like life on a farm and then being able to connect like what I was tasting in a cup of coffee to like a place in the world kind of enmeshed itself in like my childhood, you know, driving around in my grandpa's truck, like through alfalfa fields, like getting to see stuff get harvested. So coffee was sort of a way of connecting, like sort of this like love I had for agriculture from a young age, but like in a more, I guess, like the creativity there, the curiosity was really peaked. So I kept working at Starbucks, tasted a lot of coffee, ended up getting into like specialty coffee shops from there. And then I ended up traveling to places where coffee grew in Central and South America, but that was sort of the initial catch point.
Awesome. We have like a quick audience question related to Starbucks. Your car breaks down in a barren strip mall, and the only options are Dunkin', Starbucks, or a dirty pond. Which do you choose?
Is this for me to answer?
I think everybody. Let's go right
Okay.
down the line.
You want me to go first for you? You know what my answer is.
I know what your answer is.
I think so.
I think you would I don't know what your answer is. I like honestly like bag. I literally thought dirty pond, but I don't know.
No
Okay,
one's
go
gonna
first then.
choose.
No, I'm gonna choose. I love Dunkin'.
All right. Yeah.
And my order always going to medium iced coffee. Wait for it. Extra cream and extra sugar.
All right. Yeah. If you're going to Dunkin', I think that's the type of thing you get. That's what whenever I'm at the airport, that's what I get all the
That's
time.
me.
Yeah. Anybody else want to dare to answer?
I'll go to Dunkin's. I'll get this same, but just black ice, and then I'll get the tater tots.
All right. A snack. Okay. All right. So kind of got a little bit to your entry into coffee. How did you go from the enjoyment and the learning to like, okay, this is going to be my full-time career? Evan, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of connected to the intro. I was kind of like done with Starbucks, and I wanted to go visit. I literally was like, I just want to go visit coffee farms, because if I can connect with what's going on in growing countries, like I could see myself working in this industry. Just because it like connecting myself to where everything started was like really important to me. So at that point, like my wife and I were like in sort of a transitional part of our lives, and we were like, let's just go travel to Central and South America and work on coffee farms. We made that choice because we were both like not satisfied with our current jobs. And so I had been working in a specialty cafe at that point in Oregon. So we traveled and we were there for 8 months. We visited a few countries, and living in those countries and seeing the lifestyle that farmers lived and learning about the processes really did kind of cement it as like, okay, this is like a serious industry. And like there are serious people doing seriously awesome stuff every day. And it was like, once again, like the farming thing was just like, oh, like these are just farmers tending to a different crop, so to speak. And so for me, being able to like tell that story and like represent that story that they were telling to the world, but like didn't necessarily have like an opportunity to be like, oh, hey, I grew this. That was like an attractive idea to me. And being an artist, I was like, ooh, like, you know, beauty, storytelling, like how do I get into this? So that's where I decided to kind of say, I'm going to do coffee, and wherever it takes me, I'll just do that.
Jamie, how about you?
I think the turning point for me, I mean, there was the aspect of the customers being so supportive, but it was, I don't, this is sort of dating me, but I was a pretty avid blogger back then. So, and that was how all of us coffee professionals were communicating with each other, was you could slum it and you can go on Coffee Geek, or you could go on Coffeed, which was like a little forum where we would duke it out and have these big contrarian battles, and I just started to pick up some things and make some friends and some connections and build a deeper philosophy. So finding people that I deeply respected in the industry made me feel like, oh wait, they made a career out of this. And Andrew Barnett, who like Echo Cafe, and Simon Shedd, Fort Arts, Zero Defects, just Kaffa, and these amazing roasters back then, who I was just like, I don't even understand how they're doing what they were doing, but I want to do that. I want to explore that, and that just got me through the looking glass. I mean, down the rabbit hole of now we're gonna go visit farms. I don't speak enough Spanish. I don't have any connections, but we're going. We're gonna process. We're gonna learn about processing. We're gonna learn. We got the nerdy methods. We're gonna just go so deep into it. And it was this debate that got me into it, because I could feel there was an argument that needed to be had. There was something better than what there was, so.
Pac, I'm going to go to the beans again, and then I'm going to go back to Yoon, but
You want me?
I want to hear your
begin?
story too. Start getting at it, and I feel like it's really interesting.
So what take away my point is that I have seen one life at the beginning that are from the farm. His name is Billy, from Memon Mountain, and I was started in the coffee industry at almost the same time as him. Not he started longer, maybe 5 years ago, and during the time that he trying to pursuing his dream to make sure that his bean can get out from his farm, and to make sure that community coffee or the very dark roast coffee can change. He was focusing on a specialty coffee grade, trying to work on the processing, trying to make more the coffee accessible, more taste and flavor. And it was very difficult for him in the past. I was one of the people who helping him from when I seen that, his house is like, I sleep outside. I told the story to Evan before. And his house had no concrete. Imagine you don't see anything like this before. And I have to take a cold shower every night, like maybe 10 degrees Celsius, I guess, water. So Billy have to boiling a water for me to take a shower. It's that bad. And I was one of the people who trying to promote his coffee, trying to push it forward, and then keep sailing until now. I think it's been long ago, but after that 3 years, he built house with concrete. Mm. He built his own roastery. And the roastery he built was from just a tank and fire, and then he can roast the coffee. And that's where I learned how to roast. And I think that's everything. And I seen one life that transformed into something else that more than my expectation. And after Billy Farm, I searched for more. Like, how can I help this farmer, like who are new, not new, but they have the heritage to be the farmer. Like they have the third generation, the second generation farmer, and I feel like they need help because there's passionate people who want to change the coffee industry in Thailand. So I met more, and then I have seen more change. But Billy Leary was the start of the fire to me that I need to do a good thing for people to see where the coffee are going and make sure that the farmer get paid more. Because if you sell the coffee as commodity coffee, you have to work so hard. I mean, you don't see it, but to pick a coffee cherry, because I was there, you seen the coffee with 15 grams that I use, it takes half an hour to pick, one at a time. We don't have the machine. We're not like Brazil. So we use one hand at a time. And Thailand terroir, there's so many big climbing, not like surface like this. So you need to climb up to the mountain. Sometimes I slide down to the bottom, but that's okay. That's part of it. And yeah, that's where it starts, and that's why I'm so passionate about Thai coffee. That's why I roast about Thai coffee, and that's why I'm here today in the U.S. trying to bring Thai coffee to the state to make sure that we can expand the market and make sure that people know about Thai coffee more. And I can even ask right here, how many people drink Thai coffee in this room, like from Thai terroir? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 7? Come on, I need 7. Oh, my wife 7.
There you go.
Eight's a good number. Stop right there, Pac. Eight's a good number. You know that.
I'm sorry. Okay, I stop now. I'm sorry.
No, and I'm going to get back to you. We just got a very good audience question that's kind of getting at this part of the process. It's more than just, you have a drink in your hand. It starts at a farm. So what are your relationships to and understanding of labor early in the coffee supply chain? This is a great audience question. You were starting to get at that, but how do you guys develop those relationships? How do you find the farmers? Just curious about that.
For me, I think it's a bit different, but I think they can answer better because I already were at the farm, so I know most of the farmer and also trying to connect more. So that's how I got Thai coffee. But from other coffee from across the world, of course, we also I love single origin. I love the farm. I love the story, and I always represent whoever roast or grow the coffee. So I support them since the start. Like if I have an importer, for example, I would definitely buy a coffee from importer because it's easy for me to get access to the coffee. But at the same time, I always want to learn more about where the coffee from, who is the farmer, and who actually grow that coffee. And then I will reach out to them directly and see like how they're doing and stuff. And that what I literally do. So I always represent the farmer name first. So all my coffee bag always start with the farmer name or the mountain, that the processing station. So that's where I source the coffee from technically.
Yeah, I think it's become a lot easier now to just use like social media or WhatsApp if you're comfortable. Just like cold calling a farmer that you've been in, like you got connected with, or like you sort of like think about it as like relationally. If you go to like a coffee tasting where like an importer is going to be there, and then you're talking with them, and you're like, "Oh, this coffee's really good. Who grew this?" And they'll tell you their name. And if you're like really serious about going and visiting like a farm and like doing that whole thing, like they'll receive you. And like my experience was I met an exporter from Guatemala. She brought coffees from her farming partners to a cafe I worked at, and she's like, "Hey, if you ever want to come visit farms in Guatemala, let me know." And I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yes." So I took her up on that. And when I was there, you then kind of meet farmers. And you can, if you're comfortable learning language and communicating to some degree, you can do that. But I would just say, yeah, like use Facebook. Like you really just kind of have to be vulnerable and just kind of use relationships as a way of like building sort of blocks to farmers. And some people are really comfortable just like reaching out to me like, "Hey, I tried your coffee at this coffee shop," and they somehow get their farmer's number. And if you're no Spanish or the language like that is spoken in a country where the coffee's grown, like they might just DM a farmer on like WhatsApp and be like, "Can I get some of your coffee? Like I've heard of this happening." So that's like maybe an extreme example, but I think just like go to coffee tastings and then ask questions if you're wanting to start that. But if you want to go visit a farm, just Google research. That's what my wife and I did. We were like, "Where can I farm coffee in Guatemala?" And I literally found a few places, and we just made some phone calls, and it kind of happened. So
Yeah, I mean, the way it is now, people show up at your shop and say, "I got a family member who has coffee." And most of the time, it's a whole discussion about trying to help them figure out if it's even possible. There's a ton of farmer-led brokers and people who are exporters. The way it used to be was you have to go find a mill, and you have to negotiate with a mill to try and get contacts for farms, or go through, like if you're in Guatemala, you'd go through Anna Cafe or somebody, and you'd try to sweet talk them into introducing you to some people. But the logistics are so much better now. I mean, we live in a great age where you can get coffee from anywhere. It's just a matter of cost. I mean, there are tariffs, but getting something out of Thailand or getting something is just a matter of having a name and a sample, and then you can reverse that, which is so wonderful now. And you don't have to visit. You can visit if there is a need, if somebody's old school. But that's the great way to curate coffee now. Is oftentimes the farmers know more than we do as roasters, and it's a big change because they are connecting with each other and working together in a way that they never used to. They used to be competitors. Now they're sharing information, sharing contacts, sharing resources, and it is just so wonderful to see from what a black hole arbitrage it used to be. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to you.
So I would say we're different from, like, I'm a little bit of an anomaly because I'm in a different import business. We imported a coffee shop instead of coffee beans. Some of you have visited Cicada Coffee Bar. It's one of 3 restaurant concepts that my husband and I have. We have a whiskey noodle sake bar inside Bow Market called the Eves, and now we have a rooftop cocktail bar and restaurant in Central Square called Saigon Babylon. And honestly, we started out placemakers, and we still very much are. We were trained as architects, and coffee was like the light that sparked something in us in this community. People were very hungry for a chance to experience what it's like to taste and smell and be in spaces that felt like you're abroad. So if you walk into our shop at 106 Prospect Street in Central Square, you feel like you're in a Vietnamese coffee shop, literally in Vietnam. And that kind of, it's all of us, I think all four of us here are in our business because these are very personal choices. We take these individual routes because, you know, there are words like Pak used, it saved his life. Jamie said he felt authentic. And Evan came from being an artist world, and for us, it's importing a part of our home into this community. And I have to describe for you real quick how Vietnamese people drink coffee, because it really paints a whole picture. The tables are this short, the chairs are this short, so you're like this. And your cup of coffee is right here, and it's fin-tripped, and it takes about an hour and a half to finish your cup of coffee. And you might be somebody with a very poor home where you literally don't have a living room, but your neighborhood will have a coffee shop no matter what neighborhood you live in. And so coffee and coming to a coffee shop in Vietnam is sort of like WeWorks before WeWorks was a thing, where you go and you have a living room right in your neighborhood that you can catch up with everybody or not and just sit in the corner, but have that cup of coffee and really gather. And so for us, it's also why we choose the name cicada, because cicada is a bug that sleeps for a long time, wakes up, parties, sings, and then dies. And so we were like, why cicada, guys? And we're like, it's kind of like how we want to live. And so long way of answering that we don't, for us, it's not the bean, because it's not really my knowledge forte, but it's really about importing the experience of sitting in Vietnam and making Cambridge, Somerville, Greater Boston feel more like home as immigrants.
I was really struck when you said you opened during the pandemic. I was like, wait, what? When so many restaurants and cafes were closing, how are you guys, like, what? Well, why then? But it clearly paid off. You have three different businesses now. Yeah. How did you know it would work?
So there was, all we talk about at home is our life's work, which is like our restaurants, and then we have a 2-year-old and a dog now too. We sometimes talk about them. But I remember, so I was working for a real estate developer downtown because it paid the bills. And I loved my job, but I would not leave it until I had proof that coffee shops could actually pay the bill. So I said to my partner, Vincenzo, and I was like, okay, you go open first, so one of us can still pay the rent, and then including the coffee shop rent, okay, and see how this works out. So he goes, so let's open. He tried opening in Vietnam, a restaurant, and it failed. And so he came back, and this was like March. And we actually had just signed a lease for a restaurant space in Harvard Square. We inked it March 14th, and I think like they declared it a pandemic on March 16th. And so they were a great landlord. They said, we can just cancel, there's no fee. And so I went home and I was like, what am I gonna do with my crazy husband? And he goes, how much money is left in the bank? And I said, should I tell you the whole amount? So I took whatever the whole amount was and subtracted 2 months worth of our apartment's rent. So I said, we have 25 grand. He goes, there's a spot on Prospect Street I biked by the other day, and there's a for lease sign on the window. He goes, let me pull it up on my phone. Pulls it up. He goes, can you just call them real quick for a tour? This is like end of March during the pandemic, you guys. Nobody was on the street. Nobody was looking at this for lease sign. So I called up the guy. His name is John. And I was like, hey, John, anybody interested in leasing your space? He goes, you're the first phone call I've had in months. So we scheduled a tour for the same day. We opened up. So 106 Prospect, back in the day, 60 years ago, used to be a coffin shop.
Coffin.
And then
Okay.
it was the office for the Christ the King church across the street. So I said, good, we're in the good karma business. This is all a great sign. So we walk in and there's nothing. Like it literally is just a 500 square foot room with nothing in it. So I'm like, okay, we'll sign this lease. $6 grand later, we have 19 grand left. You're gonna build a coffee shop. And so he goes, let's build a coffee shop. And I honestly said yes, because I had two choices. Have a crazy husband at home I was going to divorce. Or open up a coffee shop for 25 grand in the middle of a pandemic and hopefully not have a divorce and still have a husband. So, yeah, that's what we did.
You did it.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Thanks, Peck.
So now, like, gonna lean more into this coffee shop culture we have in Boston. The landscape has changed a lot. You guys are not here to hear me talk, but I moved up here in 2011, and that's when I started working in the coffee shops, and it's changed so much to today. Jamie, Burismo started around 2008. Is that right? What changes have you seen in that time in terms of coffee shops?
Well, night and day. I mean, 2008 when we first opened, finding roasteries that, as Pac was describing, where people put the roast date on the front of the bag and identify the farmer, that was pretty novel. Arguments about whether you could do a single origin espresso, whether you could do a per cup bar, whether you could even serve per cup. Like, there was so much at that time, but then in that 3 years between 2008, 2011, we had TNTs, we had barista jams, we had, what was it, the Mid-Atlantic, no, Northeast Regional Barista Competition at the Armory. That was a lot for us. And yeah, that was, I think, heading towards the peak of where everybody had a sort of a lot of arguments and a lot of debates about what can be done. And then we all got to a certain point, I think, where everybody agreed these are the things that should be done. And then the pandemic, and now there's I don't know, there's a vibe. And I think people on the stage, I think, realize there's an opportunity to do something again, something interesting. Because we do have a strong scene. There's a base of people who appreciate coffee in this town and want you to get a little nerdy, want you to get a little weird, and be authentic and tell your stories and connect about what gets you excited about coffee. I mean, I've been lucky enough to visit so many places all over the world, and it's great to come back and share those experiences and connect with people who get excited about that. And there's just such an energy around that to just say, yeah, this was processed that way. Have you had that before? Have you had this? And not to tell people what's good, but to say, I like this. I hope you do too. And it is important. I think it's like, it does resonate with me when I hear stories of people, both as a shop owner, and I'm like, yep, that looking at that empty space, and you're like, how do we get the money to do this? How does that even work? But then also working with a farmer, and you really want to help them, or visiting a place where, like when I went to Thailand, it was like 500 farmers working I was supposed to consult for an NGO, and I really want to help the people, but it's an NGO. You can't, it's not meant to solve the problem. It's meant to help. It's almost, so there's just, I don't know, there's so much has changed, but I think we're at a point where there is a definite drift in the scene, and there's an opportunity for some new. Whatever that's going to be is going to start to happen, because there are too many shops, and there's a lot of chains in town. Rents are high, costs are high, tariffs are high, expenses all-time high, and people are going to choose what do they really want to spend their money on, and is that a good experience? And is that experience just a brand, or is that going to be something more authentic and personal? So I think that's what my opinion is on it. Yeah.
I'm going to get back to the challenges the industry is facing in a bit, but I was just thinking back when you were talking about how you would come back to Boston and share what you learned, and people would nerd out over it. Why did you guys all choose Boston? Or did you choose Boston? Did you wind up here? Were you born here? Evan?
I'll go. Yeah, so when my wife and I came back from that trip to Central and South America, I was living with my parents who were in Las Vegas, Nevada. My dad's in the military, so there's an Air Force base out there. And like after 6 months of living with my parents and like trying to look for a job, I was like trying to look for a job in the green coffee sector, like in importing and exporting. And I was applying all over the world to like, you know, importing and exporting offices all over Europe and Asia and stuff like that. And got some interviews, nothing landed. So I was kind of like at the point where it was like 6 months in, 40 applications later, I was like, yo, I'm just trying to like leave my parents' house and like work in coffee somehow. And so my wife's sister lives in Somerville. And so they wanted to live close to one another, but then I ended up getting a job at Pavement as like a supervisor. So I was like, cool, I'll just put my foot in the door, see where it goes. And there was reason to be here because, you know, there was family. And yeah, I literally came to Pavement July of 2019, was a supervisor, kind of worked my way into barista training and doing some work with like the roasting production side. I was not like ahead of any department. I was just like knew the people who did that. But yeah, we've been here ever since. So that was like Boston was just the option that had a job, and I was like ready to leave. So I was, but it's been good. Like I think Boston, from a coffee perspective, when I showed up, since 2019, I'm like, whoa, okay. Like people are kind of changing what they want or the experiences that they're looking for. So
I honestly feel so lucky I get to live in this area. We live in Somerville now, but I just call like Greater Boston my home. I actually have been living in Boston since 2008 for college, but we re-chose Boston when we had an opportunity to be somewhere else. So I came here for architecture at MIT, and I worked here, loved it. And so when my husband moved here, we had a stint in grad school in New York, but the scale of the streetscape, I'm talking like an urban designer, architect over here, but there's something about the scale of the way the cities are laid out, and especially in Cambridge, Somerville, where none of the squares are square, and how like none of the sidewalks are properly paved. You know, like there's a close togetherness despite it being a city. I feel like it's a big town. And everybody is like in their own village, and you have like village wars. And I don't know, something about that provinciality, it just reminds me of Vietnam, because like everybody's related to one another in Vietnam. Like you always feel like you're from a village. And so again, it's honestly us trying to just find a place that felt closest like our home where we were born. And would choose Boston again, minus like the blizzard we just had last
Yeah,
week.
right.
I'll rethink about that.
Well, I would say I had some family connections here, so that's why my wife went to school. But the reason we stayed is because the universities, the people here, I think it's like thinking about whether someone is nice or whether they're kind. People here are kind. They are. They're direct. They can be a little bit rude. But in the end, when they support you, they really support you. And when you connect, you really connect. And so that's what kept me. I couldn't see being the person I am in Portland or Los Angeles or New York. It's just the scenes don't match to me. It's something about being in Cambridge and a grad student coming in from MIT and asking me a bunch of nerdy questions about the physics of the brew, or making a friend with somebody who's going to Harvard for politics and connects me to friends in another country, and I get to have a great experience going overseas and meeting people. And just the people who live in the neighborhood. There are just so many people I'm on the other side of the river in Cambridge, Arlington, but I think it's just true about Boston is people are kind here, and they're not necessarily nice.
To me, I met my wife here. So she loved this city. She study here in the U.S. and Boston, and we hang out here a lot. And we need to find a place to start, like to come here. So Boston is a choice. So that's why we're here today in Boston, and we learn a lot from here. It's a bean town, good for coffee.
Yeah. I like that. This is a different
And-
kind of bean town, or
Yeah.
coffee bean town.
The legend of the coffee industry start here.
Yep.
George Hall.
Yep.
So everything related. Why not me bringing the coffee from Thailand to here in the first place? And that's why we named Newberry Street as well. Just when we get famous one day, people recognize that we from Boston.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know. I worked at George Howell when I moved here, and just thinking about like that, what you get out of it. I came from North Carolina to here, didn't know anyone, and I found community. And I think that's the beauty of like coffee and coffee shops, is just finding that connection with people is so nice. And I found my husband out of it, so that's pretty good too. Speaking of George Howell, I don't know, this is another audience question. So there was recently introduced a $24 cup of coffee, and the Boston Globe had quite a reaction to it. I personally had a lot of issues with that piece. As a barista, I was like, you don't even know what goes into it. But what were your reactions to that?
You want me first?
Do it. Go for it.
I think it's very subjective. I compete in the coffee national too. I think I'm serving coffee that could cost up to $3,000 to people. Coffee can be very expensive.
Yep.
I think we cannot just look at the price like that. Behind the scene of the coffee, they are hard work, like work shift, dedication, the farmer who actually waiting for the cherry to arrive at the exact time to pick, and then control them in the very high temperature, doing some crazy stuff to that bean to make sure that the coffee can improve little by little. Coffee growing take years. One tree of coffee take 4 years at least for you to drink. So it takes a lot of time, dedication, and passion from the farmer. If you think about yourself, how much you get paid and how much they get paid, now you can value that work. If not, you could not drink the coffee where the cup that you have right now. And to me personally, I know that it's hard to say, but I am okay to pay that cup of coffee. When I go to other country, I would order. I don't have a lot of money, to be honest, just to let you know. But I would,
For now.
but I would pay the coffee that they want to present, like the cup that, hey, which is the cup that you're excited about. I don't care how much it is. I just want to know why they're excited about. And when I drink it, I know maybe it's 27. I went to Japan, it was like $120. I drink it, I'm like, okay, it's good. But the story is deep, and I appreciate it. If you think in that way, you will start to appreciate more on the price of the coffee. And you will learn more about why the coffee tastes like that, why the coffee costs that much. And the dedication that you learn is the same. It's the same as matcha. It's the same as wine. It takes time. And time costs money. Think about yourself in that way, and you will appreciate why it's called $27. I think that's my answer.
Yeah, I would love to also share, because honestly, that story strikes a chord in me as well. Aside from us four sitting here talking to you guys about coffee, we're business people, right? We run businesses. And as a business owner, you gotta really dig deep into all the decisions you make. And you need an underlying philosophy that allows you to continue doing good business. My husband and I get a question a lot from the Vietnamese community, for example, who complain that our food is too expensive from time to time. Those questions hurt. And the reason why is because the most important word in doing business for us is the word honesty. And in Vietnamese, it's the word tử tế, which combines honesty and kindness, where when you put out something, it has to be worth three things to your customers: their money, their time, and to be honest, if you're in food, the space and energy in their stomachs. Because how many times have you guys spent time, money, and your energy schlepping yourself out there to an experience, because we all work hard for our money, right? And you sit down and you just feel like you just weren't treated with respect, right? And so whether it's a cup of coffee that's $24, or a buncha that's 34, apparently that's offensive to some people. You want to create a product that feels honest, that respects whoever buys it. And so I think that respect is the underlying key. It's not for everybody, but you know that if somebody chose to go and buy that from you, be respectful towards their time, their money, and their energy. It's really important for us.
Yeah. Going back to some of the costs too, I imagine, and this ties into a lovely audience question we got, there are forces that are happening that are probably going to make it harder for the farmers to get those cherries picked. Like we have climate change and new diseases popping up that attack the trees. And what's changed over the past decade since you've been buying coffee? Like how have you seen what changes have you seen?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen them directly, but there's a well-known fungus in the coffee industry called Roya. It's an airborne fungus that does better in warmer climates. And Roya specifically just like literally it's crazy. It's almost like it's designed to kill Arabica coffee really efficiently. And Roya, when air temperatures get higher in coffee growing regions, the fungus is going to be more prevalent. And there was a big Roya infestation like in the early 2000s in Guatemala, and we had farmers who were telling us about this. They were like, yeah, this farm is like my second farm. Like the first one got completely wiped out from Roya. And it was just because the air temperature was warmer. And so like that's a perfect example of just like as temperatures get warmer in growing areas, Roya is going to be more prevalent. But I think even beyond that is like soil health is becoming something that people are paying more attention to. And there's been reports from sources that I trust that like, and not even that, I mean like, so take Ethiopia, for example. There's an entire growing region in Ethiopia that's no longer exists. It's called terroir. Coffee doesn't grow there anymore. It used to grow there. It used to be a really well-known growing region in Ethiopia. And coffee doesn't grow there anymore because it's too dry. There is not enough water in the soil that stays around for coffee trees to survive. And not only that, there are eucalyptus trees that are being planted in Ethiopia that eucalyptus is famously a water hog, so it draws up a ton of groundwater out of the soil. And if you don't have water in the grounds in the soil, the trees are going to be strained. So the coffee trees are fighting for basically more life, and there's less to have. So Ethiopian coffees, the cup quality of a lot of Ethiopian coffees inherently is amazing because it's like the birthplace of coffee. Like they just have like the native trees and the native soil. It's like the place where coffee grew first. So they have a lot going for it, but like people across the industry have reported like some places in Ethiopia, like the quality of the coffee isn't as vibrant as it has been in years past. And like it's related to soil depreciation because the trees just there's not enough nutrients for the trees to do what they need to do in order to produce this wonderful fruit. And that's just like an agricultural reality that's happening in different ways all over the world because climate change is literally just warming up the earth and water evaporates. So it's kind of like an easy illustration to just be like, that's changed a lot. And so everything's under strain. Everything's under strain. And we just don't really see it. But when you talk to farmers about it, they'll be like, oh yeah, like, farmers in Brazil, oh yeah, drought was really bad last year. Like, oh yeah, this is getting really, really difficult.
Jamie, what about you? What have you seen?
I think Roya, water issues, lots and lots of farms shifting their processing away from very clean washed coffee to honeys and naturals because they don't have as much access to water. I mean, the issues used to traditionally be the water runoff was the problem, that you're contaminating your neighbor's water or you're sending stuff down the mountain, and there would be disputes about that. But now it is erosion. You're seeing a lot more of the types of farms that we work with, planting corridors of wild trees and letting animals go through. But it also kind of helps with rust, Roya, things like that, because you're having a natural barrier, so it's not just sweeping through. I'd say, Yeah, it's complicated. The weather is going to, or not weather, but the climate is going to reduce the viability of the lower elevations. And so people who are producing coffee in those lower elevations are just going to have a lot more issues, and it manifests in a lot of ways, like CBD.
Jamie, can you bring your mic up? Just
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
So things like coffee berry, borer beetles, and roya, and all kinds of things where it is, people are just going to have to work on longer term strategies of more hard growth shade trees, lower production, better water preservation, better soil management techniques, and it's all together. It's not, there isn't one fix, because the only other solution is intense manual labor to try and fix the problems with the product. And we run into that enough with farmers don't want to cut down the trees that they have to establish new growth. So it's very hard to convince them that, yeah, you need to dedicate areas of your farm for preservation of the water table. And it's not necessarily my job as a green buyer, but these are the conversations that are being had and we're privy to, because you go to a farm, the one thing they're proud to do is to tell you how they've solved the problem. And if you can share that with a neighbor and point that back to that person and say, talk to them, talk to this other person, here's an example, and connect the dots, that's really all we can do, because we're observers. In the worst version of it, we're just showing up and checking in.
Yep.
In the best version, we're connecting people with resources and saying, the other people I buy from are saying the same thing, why don't you talk? And that's really all we can do, because there are going to be people in the lower elevations particularly who don't have good shade, and the climate is already on the unsustainable point that they're going to have to grow a different crop, and less coffee, it changes everything for everybody.
So we're getting tight on time, so we have to transition to the demo that we're going to do. But while Pac and I go over there, can I ask you guys to share something that you're excited about for the future? Because obviously a lot of hard stuff is in our future, but I know there's probably stuff you guys are looking forward to. So we're going to move over there, and you guys are going to hopefully answer for us.
I think I'm excited for, I think coffee, as we've all shared here, like there's a huge community element to coffee. And like at the end of the day, when stuff gets really difficult, like community is usually like the first and best resource that we can turn to. And so I think coffee has like this really good generative power to it, where like communities are going to support one another, and whether that's like baristas, shop owners supporting each other. So I'm excited to see like how coffee communities can like weather this really difficult future that we have coming. But I also just think like I'm excited to just like see how people connect with like the beauty of coffee in these communities. It like I enjoy drinking coffee. I enjoy like the sensory elements of it, but I think there's like a culture, like sort of like this restorative narrative that I think coffee can have. And I'm excited to see what that looks like, because we're going to have to make a decision whether or not we want to be like givers of life or sort of like passive observers and sort of let death happen. So I think coffee shops have been like historically places where like great ideas can sort of spark and become actual like powerful movements. So just have to grind it.
Recently,
Might have to jump in soon to start, and then we'll come back to you guys, because I do want to know what you're excited about. All right.
Wow.
Let's do it.
Demo.
Okay.
All right, guys.
So how much coffee did you weigh out first?
We weigh out 15 grams of coffee
right.
for 240 ml of water.
Okay.
And this is my recipe that I use at my pop-up. And currently, and what we do is we just pour water directly to the coffee. So the way I do is the pour over coffee, where hot water contact with bean and then deliver coffee flavor. So we're going to start by grinding coffee to about, if you grind coffee at home, it's about medium grind size, where it's sea salt, right? It's like that big of sea salt. It's very simple. And then you have some brewer It may look different. Everyone have different brewer. This can be V60 that we know. This can be Chemex, Vietnamese. I'm not sure what it's called. Fin, yeah, the fin. So it's kind of the same thing. Everything do the same with the thing. And after that, we're just gonna start by coffee beans to the brewer. So I love this brewing style because it's give me, some time to be with myself, to be very honest. And I feel calm when I do it because it's like when you literally do be with yourself, meditate a little bit.
It's like a nice ritual.
Yeah, night ritual, breathe.
Yeah.
Make sure that your day goes slower a little bit. Make sure to relax.
And you're doing one nice thing for yourself. That's how I view my cup of coffee in the morning. This is for me.
Yes.
No one else.
Exactly. And to brew, I'm going very simple. So I'm doing just normal pour like everyone. So we start by 50 ml of water and wait for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. Why we doing this? Why we wait? Because we want coffee to contact with bean. And then coffee have gas inside carbon dioxide that you need them to release. If not, you can taste them like tangy on your tongue, like sparking on the mouth. So after that, after you degas, after you bloom the coffee, let's say, you can start pouring again. And my method is very simple. I do just center pour. And about 110. At first, I do 50, and then pour center to 110. And then do the same thing to 180, and finish at 240. So I would just pour center. You can see that making coffee is not difficult.
How did you develop this? Did you try out the swirl method too? Because that's how I was trained once upon a time. But
Yeah. I think it's about the culture that they do. So in Japan and Korea, they do a lot of this. I'm also from Thailand. So we brew a little bit different. We don't do swirl. We love agitation. But with the brew like this, it's allowing you to taste the flavor of the coffee directly. And it's become more like a tea-ish than the coffee that you taste. I think some of you may have my cup out there. So you will see that the coffee tastes more lighter in body and more delicate. Very beautiful, very harmonious in the cup. It's sweet, it's less of the bitterness, let's say, but that bitterness represents more to the floral, which is when you eat flower, maybe. That's how you taste it.
we are going to tell you what kind of coffee it is. We just came up with a fun or embarrassing idea for me to try to guess what kind of coffee it was. And I don't even know that I can do
the guessing.
Yeah, we'll
but
see.
I think you guys already know the answer.
Yeah, you guys get a hint. I didn't look, so I'm just going to try to see if I'm just going to even see washed or unwashed. I don't know.
For sure.
Natural process.
All right. Now, I'm just sharing with them too.
Yes,
so
of course.
Have some coffee on the table.
Can we ask questions to Pack directly?
Yes, please.
What is your water temperature?
Oh, 93 degrees Celsius. And I use the higher temp to make sure that for this coffee, for the black tea to lingering in the aftertaste.
How long does this whole process take? Like, how long
About
should the
2
coffee?
minutes now.
2?
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Nice and quick.
So I'll let you first, and then you can guess what coffee is this,
Okay.
please.
Oh gosh. If I'm wrong, it's okay. You guys can laugh.
Ooh,
This
what's
is
that?
hard.
It's okay. Life hard.
So let's see. I did taste one of his outside, so it does, like, in the lobby, it has, like, some of those floral notes to it. It does taste a little bit sweet.
Sweet.
Maybe some
Okay.
peach.
Yeah. Oh, no. Good. Peach, good. Did I get peach? Let me see. Yeah, I never had peach before, but I got peach because she said now. No, I got peach too.
I'm going to say...
Let's start by
Okay.
processing. So
Yeah.
in coffee process, we have 3 traditional process, which is wash, honey, and natural.
I'm going to say honeyed.
Honey?
I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
This is wash process.
Okay, there we go.
Yep.
And I'm not going to try country because I
Okay.
don't even know
Then
that.
I'll guess we answer. It's
Yes.
Colombia wash
Ah, very nice.
with cedar varietal.
Okay.
I'm gonna pass on for them to have
Yes.
some sip just for
Bring
good
one
time.
down
Yeah,
too.
you can
Yeah.
everyone.
Come
But
on
yeah,
down.
that's how to brew pour over. You can see it's just 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Pac. And then, Steven, do we have time? Okay. All right.
Just
And I
please
don't know
that
which
one
mic to talk into. I don't want to. Okay, I'm back here. I think. Well, that fell down. So yeah. Yoon, let's pick back up with you. What are you excited about for the future? The coffee industry, coffee shops, whatever you want to go with.
We started doing no laptop recently, and it was very controversial at our shop.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm personally, like many of us in the room, kind of addicted to my phone. So I'm honestly excited for finding more places in the community that I can go to as just somebody looking for a cup of coffee or dinner or whatever, and getting to run into more people who are like intentionally off their phone or off their laptop, because we all know it's all of us kind of have a problem. And I really like what coffee shops can do to help like recultivate that culture. We just all have to be together a little bit more with ourselves first. So I'm honestly excited for coffee shops as a means for us to continue trying to do that for ourselves.
Jamie, what about you?
Oh, this is gonna be a little cheesy, but this was a lot of fun. Connecting with everybody and kind of remind me that there's still a lot of fun to be had and a lot of like nerdiness to engage in, and sometimes when you're working in the shop every day, you just kind of get into the grind of these are my customers, this is my thing, and you forget that there's still people who can get really excited about it, and it's not just that I come in every day for the same pour over, the same shot of espresso, but like good questions. And yeah, it's this was very, very fulfilling for me, and it really motivated me to get together with my team and say, you know what, we got to do some things. We got to shake some things up a little bit and have some more brew bars, more side demos, and just have some fun with it. Bring some of the old things back, because people haven't seen it in a while. So just because I've seen it doesn't mean everybody has, But yeah.
Yeah, he brewing siphon today.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Very
You
rare
guys
to
got
find
to
it
see
here.
That,
Yeah.
that setup. It was really neat. Very scientific looking. Pac, what are you excited about for the future?
That's difficult for me. I'm excited for Boston, first of all. I think Boston is changing. People focus more on the story behind the cup. I have seen change. I serve a lot of coffee, and I do technically, I'm specialized in this, the pour over that I just did, and people drink a lot. I'm running a business as selling a coffee bean as coffee roaster online, and I do a pop-up on the weekend. And every weekend, every day, I only do 4 hours open shop, just only 4 hours. And we serve 70 plus pour each day.
Wow.
So that's fascinating. And people start to understand and people start to appreciate more in coffee in Boston. I think this brings back to where Boston was. Boston was very big in coffee. And I think we have Dunkin' and everywhere. So we kind of do more of the fast grab and go. But I think the world is changing, and people start to accept themselves more, start to learn more about the thing that they want. And also internet is very bad. Some people just want to get away. This thing, take ritual. So you sit down, you're going to have to talk to people. You be with phone and you cannot experience it. So you need to be there physically, look at what we do, and just start conversation. And this is important for the world right now, not only
Yes.
just for coffee.
Yep.
Just like Yang says, it's like if you don't talk to people, we are human. We're not talking to the phone all the time, 24/7. We sometimes got dragged into that for a long time. But at the end of the day, people who are next to you are people who are sharing the experience with. And that's what we're trying to do. And Boston are moving forward to this direction. And I feel like, yeah, I'm very excited to the scene in the future for coffee. Doesn't matter if espresso, doesn't matter you like latte, doesn't matter you like cold brew or some fancy drink, matcha, I love that. But I think we are changing to a better direction here in the New England. I have seen it, and I'm following up with people. I'm following up with Evan. I'm following up with Yang. I'm following up with all the friends that are in the beverages industry. Wine, cocktail, people start talking. And I think this is something excited for me that I feel like, I mean, since we have so much technology, but a lot of people now starting to talk to people, and that's a strong word. You start talking.
Connection. It's
Connection.
great.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like
and
we
and,
did
and
tonight.
I'm excited, and I think that's all I can say.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I really enjoyed this, and thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it.
How about another round of applause for our coffee entrepreneurs? Yes. Evan, Yoon, Jamie, and Pak. And thank you to our moderator tonight, Dianna Bell.